Hello guys, it's Christian from Emotions in Wine. Welcome to the second chapter of Canary Islands, the very hot volcanic region in the Atlantic. I refer you to the link below for the introduction and the whites, the first video we made a few weeks ago. Today we focus on the reds, more islands but 6 producing wine. The other time we had Tenerife and Lanzarote, one each. This time we focus only on Tenerife because, as said, is the most important for the volume of production, quality, and especially for the reds. It's an incredible place, as we've seen in the other video, so I hope you will enjoy it because you understand many things from there. The whites made a great impression. I made a lot of comparisons with Etna, which is something more comparable, even if, of course, Mediterranean climate is different from Atlantic, but there are many common points. So today I'm curious to see, also for me, it's the first time I tried this, the comparison with Nerello Mascalese, the red grape on Etna, how Listán Negro is doing. So Listán Negro is the main red grape. As you've seen, there are many grapes, majority whites, even reds a few, but Listán Negro is the huge percentage of the reds. There are very little percentages of the others. It's related to Listán Blanco, which we've seen is the Palomino Fino, called differently and very different. Tendentially is making light to medium body wines, very fresh, vibrant, acidic mineral, so not much structure, especially from tannins. So similar in a way to Nerello Mascalese in Etna, but lighter, because Nerello have more structure in general, is more medium plus. So this is why before the reds were quite easy drinking, and even nowadays alcohol levels are still quite low. As we said, majority of vineyards go quite high. Tenerife has 5 DOs. Today we are touching 2, one in the north and one in the east, southeast. So completely different exposition, altitudes and everything, but there are many common points, especially in the philosophy of the wineries. 2 quite historical, since it's quite a new development, even if they have a huge heritage of old vines, have you seen old prephylloxera and so on, but majority of the boutique wineries started in the last 20-30 years. Before was more bulk production and very few serious wineries. So these are all artisans doing organic farming. They are not certified, both indigenous and minimal intervention. The first one, Los Loros, Listán Negro, Valle de Güímar, 22 vintage, 12 alcohol only. He is from 98, so he's one of the early boutique wineries who started. And then we have Suertes del Marques, El Chibirique, Listán Negro, Viñas Viejas, so old vines, 2020 vintage. This is from Valle de Orotava. We had their white in the other chapter. They started in 2006, but it's one of the most representative wineries in the whole islands. This is 13 alcohol. So I start to pour them. So as I was saying, Valle de Güímar and Valle de Orotava. So Valle de Güímar is, as you can see, on the east, southeast. So there is the tall volcano, and this is really on the slopes, and this is going higher. So it's drier there, even if in general it's dry, but on that side it's drier and hotter because there is more exposition, of course, being tendentially to south. So therefore, the vineyards are much higher. The winery is at 700-800 meters, and the vineyards are all around there, up to 1,003, 1,004, which is the highest in European vineyards. And even for the Listán Negro, he has some plots even up to 1,003. So that helps to preserve freshness, while Suertes del Marques said in Valle de Orotava, which is in the north, as we've seen also in the other video, and this is on the eastern side of the valley, where the reds are made, because there is a clear distinction there between eastern and western part. The soil change a bit, we'll see better later. So as you can see, the colors maybe, they are not that intense, ruby. Pretty similar actually, even if this is 2 years older. but there is not much difference, neither in intensity, slightly less intense the first, which is younger and is lighter, as you heard already from the alcohol, but in everything. So the fact that the altitude makes the wine lighter, but also the choice in the winemaking. So he's making shorter maceration, tendentially 10-15 days maximum, and also shorter aging. That's why it's 22 vintage. 6 to 10 months in used French casks, not specified if barriques or bigger. So the winery is already almost 30 years around. Boutique, as said, organic, old vines in every wine. Majority is making whites. This is the only red. This is also prephylloxera on Canary Islands, but some were replanted in more recent times. The soil is volcanic, sandy, so it's different from Valle de Orotava also. So you see we have, the terroir is quite different, altitudes, soil, climate, so exposition. So there are quite a few differences. The bottles are open already a while, but not that much. First impact, very attractive. It's not just red fruit, mostly, but also touch of, I would say tertiary more than spicy. Yes, something referring to leather or something like that already. Minerality, very pronounced. Also some forest note, forest floor, something like that. Strange for a 22 vintage. So apparently already some tertiary notes, which usually need several years to come. So very elegant and pleasant so far. He started very tiny in a garage-like cellar, expanded a bit, but it's still tiny. Making few wines. Is an interesting winery and value for money in particular, because his wines are very affordable. Not the highest spoken about, but very affordable. So seems value for money may be the best, let's say. This one is, I paid online in Europe, so out of Spain, 1950 euros. So very reasonable price. Yes, a lot of those notes actually. So more on the tertiary. Spiciness very little so far. Very pleasant palate. As said, vibrancy here, there is also the altitude, so acidity should be even higher. They use whole bunches, both of them. This is another key point. Since the tannic structure is low, even in Burgundy and other kind of grapes like this, happen that they use bunches, so you have also the green parts giving some tannic structure more to help increase the structure of the wine. They both do the same, full. So that is most also a reason maybe they don't want to do too long maceration, because otherwise would extract too much, because then you extract even some green notes that may influence also the flavors and aromas. Probably I smell also something related to that actually, because there is also something like more than herbal, more something like plant notes. So potentially that is influenced by the presence of the full bunch. Good length, as said, medium bodied. Yes, that's it. You don't understand that it's only 12 alcohol. Very pleasant, and of course mostly the vibrancy and the minerality and the fruit, and also a touch of these like tertiary notes. So very pleasant, very pleasant. Of course here you cannot pair big dishes. It's not just a matter of the alcohol level, that is part of the structure of the wine. Here you have that, and also the tannin that is very gentle. That's why they use the bunches. So it's more on the vibrancy. Yeah, changing a bit some other spices, herbs. So the fruit is not that predominant, just at the beginning, then is less intense, is more all the rest. So quite good complexity overall, especially for the category. Yeah, it's interesting, this kind of evolution notes already present in a 3.5 years old wine. Can clean very well because the acidity and minerality are marking. Actually, it's quite good length for the medium body, very pleasant, and leave you also at the end a touch of sweet fruit, so can clean fatty meats, both cold cuts or pork or even some lighter beefs can still hold. So very nice and value for money, already I would say outstanding, because I didn't expect this complexity and it's quite refined actually. So very, very pleasant. So let's start with the second. As said, we already spoke about this winery, one of the most important for 2006, so less than 20 years, only in Valle della Orotava. The whites are on the western side where there is more basalt and top sand, while the reds are on the eastern side where there is more clay on the top. So it's clay sand is top, so the basalt is lower, so that gives a bit more structure, so it's better for the red wine, especially being that this grape is not that structured, so that helps indeed a lot. So this vineyard is at 400 meters, so the lower part, because the valley goes from 300 to almost 900. 8 years old vines, farmed in cordon trenzado, which is the typical system of Valle de Orotava, as explained in the other video. Intertwined canes, so it's going horizontal, even a few meters, very particular. So even for this one, they use the same system. So prephylloxera, very old vines. In fact, they specify old vines he could do also with 40, 50 years old, but for probably too humble to specify it, or maybe because there is not that old, considering that they can go to under 50 to 100 also, some vineyards is incredible. Is about 15 days of skin colta, also, as said, full bunch, so to give more tannic. And then about a year of aging in a bigger casket, tonneau mostly, used also in this case. Then they refine a lot in the bottle. Interesting also that, because the aging is not that much more than the other, but the vintage is older because they keep the bottles longer. So good approach also to give more complexity to the wine. A few weeks ago we had the defected wine. Even today I'm not that happy, because either is very closed or there can be a touch of cork note, because it's very closed. It's not showing anything basically, but there is no smell of cork at all. So that is strange, because usually even if it's just tainted slightly, at least a hint you have, even especially on the palate, but doesn't seem like. Yeah, even on the palate doesn't seem. So maybe it's just very close. As I said other times, drinking window can be an issue in some phases of the wine life. I have it here already a while, it's not just arrived, so that is not an issue. But at the moment it's really inexpressive. Because now you have just a bit of fruity, a touch of spicy, very, very, very shy. The cork is perfect, no smell at all, not any. Okay, a bit of mold, yes, actually. Watching properly, maybe you can see. Before was more red from the wine, but now I see a bit of this. It can be a bit of a mold. Yeah, not showing. Pity, because this should be a great wine. Here there is a bit more tannin, still good vibrancy even if it's older, the acidity is nice, and yeah, even on the palate doesn't let you much, a bit of fruit and not much else, touch of spice, tertiary I would say nothing, so very, very limited so far, pity, so we'll see later on. So we go for the final round, very nice. this is really a surprise. I didn't expect that much, also seeing the price, and then the fact that it's declared even medium minus, medium plus body, instead is very pleasant. Changing a bit more, some more these notes like tertiary, really surprises, so young. Touch of earthy also at this point. So, different from Narello Mascalese on Etna, different characteristics, different structure. They are a bit lighter than the Etna. I like it in a different way indeed. Yeah, still changing, so it's not basic at all. Yeah, huge aging potential, even for this one, because the freshness and minerality is still very remarkable. So even if it's medium-bodied, can age very well, and I think will give its best in coming years. Now is the beginning of the drinking window, already very enjoyable. I will add a tomorrow session short to see this one and to draw the conclusions. Here we are 24 hours later, so as you can understand, especially in videos like this, everything is live, nothing prepared ahead. I changed in this case really the plan of the video because I didn't plan to do the next day, but I was forced because of what happened. So I retried both anyway, but there was a change in both of them. But I confirm that the second one is not fine. It's a tiny defect that is limited it, not expressive, still covered up. That is a kind of issue that happens in rare cases. It is very bad because if you are not that expert, you think that the wine is fine, but it's not at all. But it changed a bit, so it shows something more, but not that much. Also, the Los Loros changed a bit, in a way less refined, some more those tertiary notes a bit wilder, I like to call, but great complexity, a great wine. The sandy soil gives that elegance indeed, while the others with the clay has a bit more body. So this overall is a great wine indeed. Only thing, just a hint of salty, which in the whites was more evident. And the mineral here doesn't give smokiness, which is typical of basaltic volcanoes, and we found on the whites. While here, the smoky came out, but there is a almost imperceptible note of cork. Afterwards, it very little, but that is the problem. So you will get only something of the wine. It's drinkable, but of course it's not pleasant, and didn't show much, especially on the nose. Usually with the hours, either it's very little and it goes away, otherwise it comes out more, which is the case today. This is a great wine indeed. I cannot say how much great, how complex, because of this handicap, but what I can see that is very little gives a great perspective of the potential of the wine. Still very young, can age a lot, even this one. This can pair richer meats, and I think, but tertiary, no. So in a way that is strange. The other is much ahead in the notes evolution than this one. It has a great potential. It's very pity because this is not cheap, also 29 euros I paid, and I was very curious because I was impressed with the wine. So conclusion, I reconfirm that they have similarities with the Etna, but they have their typicality. Very interesting, value for money for sure. Overall, the Canary Islands are better. I'm quite impressed so far. I have already an idea about a cross tasting of Etna and Canaries. Let's see later on. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment please. Help us to grow, share with your right friend, support us. As you see, we do a different angle, more in depth, live, maybe slower, but giving you much more different information. Salute and see you next time.